Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the official Quincy Bell Sports Bracket. This is what all the bracketology videos lead up to. The final bracket is set, and it is time to make some picks. Now, I know a lot of you are going to be disappointed that I did not bring out the big cardboard board this year. I've done that every year since 2018. I've gotten not a whiteboard, but like a poster board. I've drawn out the bracket. I haven't had time to do it this year. I'm really sorry about that. I know a lot of people are like, I like it how you don't just do it on ESPN. Well, this year we're going to be doing it on ESPN. I do apologize for that, but I have some picks for you. I've already made my bracket, so I'm just going to make this and then delete it because I already have my picks saved. But let's get into it. We're going to talk about each team when we go on down, and let's make some picks. UConn against Stetson. UConn got the number one overall seed. I think that's fair. I think they will end up beating Stetson. Stetson hasn't made the tournament in over 50 years. They're one of the longest teams that has been eligible but hasn't made it. So congratulations, Stetson, but I don't think that you're going to beat UConn. FAU Northwestern. This is an interesting matchup. This is going to be a crazy matchup. Jonell Davis against Boo Buie. Ultimately, I'm going to take FAU. I know they've been struggling as of late, but they made it all the way to the Final Four last year. They clearly have what it takes. They have almost their whole team back, and I think that they're gonna. I don't know if they're making a run. I don't know if they're beating UConn, but I definitely think they could beat Northwestern and win that 8-9 matchup like they did last year. San Diego State and UAB. UAB won the American Conference. I'm going to take San Diego State, though. I think UAB is the weakest of the 12 seeds, and that's no knock on UAB. It's just I think the other three are a lot better. And San Diego State, I think, is a pretty decent 5 seed. I think they're better than Wisconsin. I think they're better than Gonzaga. Well, I don't know. Well, they beat Gonzaga, so I guess maybe. But I think San Diego State's a really strong 5 seed. I mean, they made the national title game last year, so I think that's a. I wouldn't. A lot of people like the 5-12s. I'm going to take Auburn over Yale. Fun fact, Auburn is actually 4th in adjusted efficiency on KenPom. That is similar to where UConn was last year when they made the national title. So maybe keep that in mind. BYU Duquesne. I'm going to take BYU. Duquesne had a great run, but they also finished 6th in the A10 in the regular season. And BYU is a really good 6 seed. I actually thought they should have been like a 4. That's where I had them. This is not trying to diss Duquesne, but I think BYU wins this pretty easily. Illinois Morehead State. Here's the first upset of the video. I'm taking Morehead State. I really don't have a good reason for it other than I've seen Morehead State play, and they are really good. Riley Minix is a stud. He can shoot the lights out, and he averages nine boards a game. Morehead State has a very good turnover margin, too. And Illinois, I feel like, always underperforms in the tournament. I picked them to win it all one year, and they lost to Loyola. I don't know. I feel like that they're a team that the Big Ten always underperforms. I'm really high on Morehead State. I think they're a pretty good team. So this is just an upset that I think is going to happen. Drake and Washington State. I'm going to take Drake. This is probably the most random matchup I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, this is pretty much a toss-up. I like Drake. I like the way they battled through that Mountain West tournament and ended up winning it all. Washington State, I'm being honest, I don't really know a lot about them. I know they beat Arizona twice. They lost in the first round of the Pac-12 tournament. I don't know. This is a really close game. I just think Drake's a little bit better. Could be a value pick, though, picking Washington State. I actually looked. 53% of people are on Drake to win this game. So maybe that's an opportunity to pick Washington State. I don't know. This is pretty much a toss-up game. I'm going to take Drake, though. And then I think Iowa State beats South Dakota State. Pretty self-explanatory there. Let's go to the other side. Houston and Longwood. I think that's Houston pretty easily. Nebraska, Texas A&M. This is pretty much a 50-50 matchup. Tomanaga's the guy you got to watch out for Nebraska. He can absolutely shoot the lights out of the building. I saw him do that to my Indiana Hoosiers, and it was not fun. They have some impressive wins. I mean, they beat Purdue. They beat Wisconsin. They're a good team. I'm going to take A&M, though. A&M, I don't think should have been in the tournament because they're 2-5 against Quad 3 teams. But this is not a Quad 3 team. I think they had a winning record against Quad 1 and 2. And they normally show up when it matters in the tournament. When it comes to like bracket style games, are really good. Wade Taylor can also carry you through a game. And if Nebraska does not shoot the lights out from three, they are very vulnerable to lose. I feel like a lot of people are going to be on Nebraska, so I like Texas A&M here. All right, I think this is the easiest upset of the whole bracket. I think James Madison beats Wisconsin because James Madison has been absolutely terrific all year. They're 31-3. They lost to App State twice, but other than that, they have one loss on the year. They beat Michigan State back real early in the year, and this is a team that when they win big, man. Um, they normally know how to get it done, and I think Wisconsin is pretty overrated. I think they're seated a little bit too high. I think they gave them too much for that game against Purdue that they won. It was a good win, but I don't think I don't think they're that great. I saw them play this year, and I wasn't really particularly impressed. I think that's a pretty easy upset pick. I think Duke beats Vermont. Vermont's normally pretty good, but I don't think they're better than Duke. I think Texas Tech beats NC State. NC State went on a miracle run in the ACC tournament. They beat Louisville, they beat someone else, and then they beat Virginia, UNC, Duke, back to back to back. But I think their luck is going to run out. Texas Tech is a very good, very well-rounded team, and I think that they are going to. I think they beat NC State. I think Kentucky over Oakland is pretty self-explanatory. This game I think could go either way because there's always a play-in team that does really well, and I like Boise and Colorado. I think those are both two really good teams. But Florida's been playing some really good ball. I feel like I gotta take Florida. I think all around they're better. If you take Boise or Colorado, I think that's a very valid pick. I totally understand where you're coming from, but I think Florida's a little bit better. I think Marquette beats Western Kentucky. My uncle did go to Western Kentucky, so go Tops, but I don't think they're going to beat Marquette. I keep checking the OBS to make sure it doesn't freeze. Okay, let's keep going. North Carolina should beat the winner of Howard and Wagner, I would assume. Mississippi State, Michigan State, both these teams are incredibly overseeded, and I don't think either one should really be in the tournament. I'm going to take Michigan State. They normally get it done come March. Mississippi State is really off and on. Michigan State, Michigan State normally holds teams really close. Um, they kind of have had really bad luck in close games this year. So if they had maybe a few of those go their way, they'd be a much higher seed. I don't know. They're really high in adjusted efficiency. I think they win this game. I like Grand Canyon in this game as a 5-12 upset. I think Grand Canyon is 29-4, and they play at a very good clip. They have hardly lost any games this year. I mean, neither is St. Mary's really, but I just think this is a good matchup for Grand Canyon. I think teams that play at like a slower pace, I think, are more vulnerable to upsets. And here's what I mean by that: there are less possessions in a game when you play at a slower pace, so there's less possessions for the better team to get an advantage. I hope that makes sense. I'm also just really high on Grand Canyon. That's a really good team. They're 29-4 for a reason. And then in this game, I'm going to pick Charleston. I like this upset a lot because Alabama has a terrible defense. They're really good on offense, but they have a terrible defense. They've had multiple games this year where they're giving up like 100 points. I felt like on a nightly basis, their opponents are scoring in the 80s, 90s, hundreds. Now, Charleston is the exact same way. They also have a really good offense and not a great defense. But I just think that Charleston's going to get them. Charleston was a team that was really good last year, couldn't quite get it done. I think maybe the revenge tour kind of factor for Charleston. They're back. They might know what they need to do better. I don't know. I like their chances. I think they win. Clemson, New Mexico. I think this is pretty easy. I'm taking New Mexico. They've been looking really, really good. Ran through the Mountain West tournament. They probably needed to win that or come close to winning it. They did. They won the whole thing. The Lobos are playing some really good ball right now. Clemson, they're pretty good, but I think these teams are pretty evenly matched. And when two teams are pretty evenly matched, I tend to go with the lower seed. So I like New Mexico here. Baylor and Colgate. I'm going to take Baylor. I've seen a lot of people take Colgate. I really don't understand why. I think Baylor wins that pretty easily. Dayton and Nevada. This is pretty much just a toss-up game. Take your pick, really. Dayton has not been playing very well. Neither has Nevada, really. Both these teams are kind of limping into the tournament. I'm going to take Dayton, but you could really go either way with this one. Arizona should beat Long Beach State. I don't think Arizona's that great, but I think they should win that. And then the final region for the first round, Purdue. I don't think they're losing to a 16 seed again. Every single team that's lost to a 16 seed has won the national title. You don't know how many times I've heard that from Purdue fans. I've heard it so often from Purdue fans. Utah State, TCU. I mean, flip a coin with this one. I feel like every time I pick Utah State, they let me down. So I took TCU. Like I said, I've already made my picks. I'm just kind of explaining them and going through again. Gonzaga and McNeese. A lot of people are on McNeese, and rightfully so. They're 30-3. They play at a great clip. They have a fantastic turnover margin. They have some decent wins up here. I mean, they beat Michigan on the road. They beat VCU on the road. This is a really good team. I think Gonzaga wins, though, just because Gonzaga doesn't get upset. They're too well coached by Mark Few. I think this is going to be a really close game, but I think Gonzaga, with the tournament experience, will pull out the win. And then the same goes for this game. Almost the exact same thing. A lot of people like Samford. 29-5. They play at a really high pace on offense. They're up and down the court in a blink, it feels like. But I'm going to take Kansas just because Hunter Dickinson and Kevin McCullough will both be back. They were out in the Big 12 tournament when they played Cincinnati and got rolled. But if they're going to be back and healthy, I don't think a Bill Self team is going to get upset. I feel like these are two upsets that a lot of people are wanting to pick. But I think these teams are just too proven and well coached for that to happen. South Carolina, Oregon. This is tough. I think South Carolina is not as good as their record shows. Their efficiency is kind of lagging. And when they lose big. Like, they have a lot of loss. Like, there's a 40-point loss to Auburn. They also lost by 31 in the ACC tournament. When they play good teams, they tend to lose more than they win. I know they do have a win over Kentucky, which I thought was really good, and they do have a win against Tennessee. Oregon, however, was playing some really good ball in the Pac-12 tournament. They're peaking at the right time, and these teams are like almost neck and neck when it comes to efficiency. I think Oregon's playing really well right now. I think I'm gonna have to take them. Creighton and Akron. It should be Creighton. Creighton's really good. I mean, their efficiency is off the charts. They know how to defend. They're a terrific team. I think Texas beats the winner of this play-in. Although, I think for both of these, this play-in and this play-in, I think they're both really close. Virginia and Colorado State are two good and deserving tournament teams. So, I think Texas wins that one. And then I think Tennessee beats St. Peter's. I don't think St. Peter's is going on a big run again. All right, let's go back to the top. Second round. I don't think FAU's pulling off an elite run again. They also got to play a 16 seed in their second round last year. I think if they get matched up against UConn, UConn's going to beat them. I think it might be a close game. This could be a better game than a lot of people think, but I think UConn would win. San Diego State, Auburn. I like Auburn in here. Like I said, they're top 4 in efficiency. They're up the court in a blink. I mean, they're really well coached. They are a lanky, long team. They can stretch the court. They shoot the like. This is a legit Auburn team. They should probably be like a 3 seed. I think a 4 is a little disrespectful. I think BYU takes down Morehead State, and then this Drake Iowa State game. I actually thought about going with Drake just because this is an in-state rivalry, and there was one year where Wichita State was a 10 and Kansas was a 2, and Wichita State ended up winning. Iowa State, their defense is just too good, though, I feel. I mean, they murdered Houston in the Big 12 championship, so I'm going to take Iowa State. Let's go to the other side. I think Houston beats A&M. I think these two actually played earlier in the year, if I'm not mistaken. They did. It was a close game, actually. But I think Houston will end up winning that one. Duke, James Madison. I've actually seen some people take James Madison, but I think Duke's gonna end up taking that one. Texas Tech, Kentucky. I like Tech here. I don't think Kentucky is that great. They're a really young team, and they've gotten upset like this year. It's not on these list of games, but they have a loss to UNC Wilmington, and they have a loss. St. Joe's took them to overtime. I just don't think they're that great of a team. I've seen them lose multiple times at home to Tennessee and Gonzaga. And Texas Tech, I think, is really underrated. They have had some pretty impressive results this year in terms of Like, they have a win over BYU. They murdered Kansas. They have a win over Baylor. I just think they're really good, and they're going to be really well battle tested coming from the Big 12. Not to say Kentucky isn't. I just think Texas Tech, I think this is a pretty good game to pick here. And then I think Marquette beats Florida. As good as Florida's been, Marquette is a juggernaut. They made the Big East title and gave UConn a really good fight. They have Marquette as, I mean, they're really good. They have a 3-point loss to Purdue, which, I mean, it shows they can hang with them. They have a 1-1 against Creighton. I mean, yeah, they're a really good team. I definitely think Marquette wins that one. Down here, I'm taking Michigan State to beat North Carolina, and I'll tell you why. North Carolina is ranked 9th in efficiency, which is pretty subpar for a 1 seed, and Michigan State is, I think, ranked 18th in efficiency. It's really good for a 9 seed. And as much as you think Michigan State shouldn't be in the tournament, I think they shouldn't be in the tournament. You know they're going to come out and perform. You know they're about to do some stuff. Because every year they do it. Every year they're like the only Big Ten team that goes far. I think Michigan State wins this game. I just think Izzo will have this team playing its best ball in these games because it always happens. And I think UNC, like, if you're telling me right now, I think Iowa State's better than UNC. I think Marquette's better than UNC. I think Tennessee is better than that. I just think UNC, like, not to say they're overrated and don't deserve the 1 seed. I just think there are teams that are better, and I think Michigan State ends up beating them. There's always an 8-9 that beats a 1, like every single tournament, and I think this has the best chance of actually happening. Grand Canyon and Charleston, I'm going to take Grand Canyon. I think they're overall a better team. I'm going to take Baylor and Arizona here, but I really thought about going with Dayton and New Mexico just because, I mean, I don't think Arizona's that good. I really don't. If they were playing like Florida in this game, I would take Florida, but I just don't think Dayton has what it takes. And also, this game I went back and forth on, but I think I'm going to take Baylor. And then let's go over here. I think Purdue beats TCU. I like Gonzaga over Kansas. Kansas has been really up and down this year. Gonzaga's been a little bit more consistent. They have a better efficiency rate. I know I've been talking about efficiency, and you're probably above me. I don't know. I just think of these two. I think Gonzaga's a little bit better. Oregon, Creighton. I think Creighton ends Oregon's run, and then I think Tennessee beats Texas. Let's go back. Let's go back to go to the Elite Eight. Auburn and UConn, I'm taking Auburn. The efficiency is right there. These two teams are more evenly matched than you think. Auburn shoots at a very high clip. They run the core. They have the athletes to compete with UConn. It's really hard to win back-to-back. And the number 1 overall seed, they never win. The number 1 overall seed never wins. They haven't won since 2013 when Louisville won it all. So, I mean, with all that being said, I'm taking Auburn. I think they're a really good team. I've seen them play. I know how great UConn is. I just think this is a matchup where they could get tripped up, and I like Auburn's chances in this one, so I'm going to take the Tigers. And then BYU, Iowa State. I like Iowa State. Their defense is crazy. I think they win that one. Houston and Duke, I think that's Houston. Houston, like I said, their defense, crazy. And their offense is serviceable, too. Not even serviceable. They have a good offense. It complements the defense really well. Their guards know how to defend, and they have competent big men inside. It's just so hard to score on them. I think that they would beat Duke. And then I think Marquette ends Texas Tech's little run here. I like the Eagles there. And then Michigan State and Grand Canyon. I'm going to take Michigan State. And then Baylor, Arizona. I'm going to take Baylor. I like them in that game. I don't think Arizona is that great. I think Baylor is definitely an experienced team that could win that. And then we have Purdue, Gonzaga. I had Gonzaga winning, then I changed it to Purdue. I mean, look, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder from losing last year. That's what worries me about Purdue and how good that they'll be. I think that I think they're going to have just a massive chip on their shoulder, and they're going to be out for revenge this year. I've seen this team play throughout this year. They're not a team to be messed with. And then Creighton and Tennessee. This is a very even and hard to pick Sweet 16 game. I ultimately ended up going with Creighton. The only reason being is because both of these teams are, when they're on their game, they're so good and so hard to beat. But when they're off their game, they're terrible. Like they're just. And I mean, it was ultimately a 50-50. I'm a Tennessee fan, so I want to pick Tennessee, but I can't be biased. And I think Creighton's maybe a little bit better. So I'm going to take the Blue Jays. And then to go to the Final Four, Auburn, Iowa State. I like Auburn. I had Iowa State going deep. In a bunch of my brackets, I had them going deep in a bunch of the Bracketology videos. But I looked, they're 50th. They're in the 50s in offense. And to go to the Final Four, you have to be good in both offense and defense. And that's not even to say that they're bad in offense. It's just you can't be a one-sided team. Auburn is in the top 10 in both. They're so good, so efficient. I'm taking the Tigers. And then down here, I went with Baylor. And Baylor, ultimately, they're not that great on defense. They're kind of an offense-centric team. But I kind of gave them an easy run. Colgate, New Mexico, I think Arizona's overrated. And then I think they do beat Michigan State in this one. I mean, I just think Baylor's a really good team. This is a rematch, by the way, of the first game of the year. It was Auburn and Baylor. Purdue and Creighton. I had Creighton, and then I switched it to Purdue just because this team is really, really good. They're on a revenge tour, and I wouldn't want to face them. I'm telling you right now. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that they lose in the first round because it'd be so funny. But I think I'm going to take Purdue. And then over here, I like Houston. I think Houston's a juggernaut. I think they've been looking great all year. And another thing about Houston is that in the past years they haven't been proven or whatever because they play in the American and they have just been kind of like they've been playing subpar competition. They get a really good record and then they lose because they're not battle tested. This team's playing in the Big 12. They went 30-4 based on playing the best teams like every night of the week. They are so ready for this tournament. All right, to go to the national title game, Baylor and Auburn. I think Auburn gets revenge from that first game of the year. Normally, when a team plays a team a second time, they tend to get revenge from the first game. And Auburn's just so good efficiency-wise. I like them here. And then over here, I'm taking Houston. And the reason being is I think that Purdue's guards are going to have an incredibly tough time with Houston's guards because Houston's guards are so good defensively. They're so good. I think I almost said Fletcher Smith and Braden Lawyer. No, Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer are going to be in jail this game. I just think that's what's going to happen. And Houston has competent enough big men to handle Zach Edey. If Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer can't create plays, I don't think Purdue wins that game. And then for the national title, Auburn and Houston, I'm taking Houston. I've been on them the whole year. I think all in all, they've been the best team this year. It's been between them, UConn, and Purdue. I'm just so impressed with their defense. And defense wins championships for a reason. And they have a serviceable enough offense to boot. It's still really highly ranked. I think Houston ends up winning it all. Let me know what you think of these picks. I think Warren Buffett's about to have to run me $1 billion because I'm really liking this bracket. I haven't picked a correct national champion since 2015. I was in 6th grade, actually. I was in 6th grade the last time I picked I'm a sophomore in college. The last time I picked a correct national champion was 6th grade. Hopefully Houston can come through, and hopefully all my upset picks also do come through. Let me know who you're picking in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Peace out.